You know, when I think of Miami Beach, when you do, probably a lot of words come to mind. But for me, a couple that really jump out are preservation and resiliency. And the intersection of those two themes is what you're going to spend today. And I just want to start with a few thank yous. Daniel, Jack Johnson, Jack Van Glass, Sarah Ledick, all the MDPL folks, Laura Weinstein-Berman, who's played such a critical role. You've got some amazing speakers. I'll have the honor of introducing one of them. I want to thank our city staff out here on a Saturday morning. I want to thank you for being here, too. There's so much going on in the city. Yesterday, I was over at the Bitcoin event with 30,000 of the folks doing Bitcoin. Tomorrow, I'll be on a float talking about gay pride. We have so many things we could be doing, but you chose to be here. It's an important topic. I have two things that I'm going to do. One, a little ceremonial representing the city, and then two, I want to roll up my sleeves and talk a little bit of content about what's happening. And I want to give you my opinion, my view, based on now my 5th year of watching this very closely, where we're at, and then I'm going to turn it over to some additional professionals and experts who will drill deeper on these topics. I just want to say MDPL has done an amazing job with this. You know, some people think preservation and resiliency don't necessarily go together. I think the exact opposite. I think preservation is a whole lot of what makes us special, and I think our efforts on resiliency are what makes us special today and what continues to make us special in the future. So we need to bridge that, and what MDPL is doing, and what MDPL is doing with this event is making a whole lot of progress. So I actually today, on behalf of the city of Miami Beach, want to recognize MDPL. I want to recognize the Center for Resiliency and Sustainability. Been doing this since 2017. We took a little COVID break, had to, but we're back at it. The hotels, particularly the preservation, generate so much resort tax revenues for the city. People think of Miami Beach, they really think about preservation. And this effort, what you're doing here, is enhancing causes of preservation and resiliency. So, it is my honor, on behalf of the city of Miami Beach, I think the first time we've ever done it, we are declaring today, April 9, 2022, as Miami Design Preservation League, the Center for Resiliency and Sustainability, Historic Preservation Resiliency Workshop Program Day. Thank you.
Any other board members here? Thank you. We have our own day.
Yeah, you can do that. All going on.
We're just going to say
Yeah. Okay. All right. Congratulations. So that was task number 1. We're off to a good start. Let's talk about task number 2. And I want to break my comments into 3 sort of broad areas. Number 1, what's the big picture situation and how are we doing here at Miami Beach? Number 2, what are the key success factors? What do we need to keep doing right? What are some things to focus on? And number 3, some special topics, some programs and actions the city are taking that I think you'll want to learn more about. And the good news is you're in the right place to learn, because a number of the presentations will sort of touch on them, and I believe there'll be some Q&A at the end. So let's start with some big picture comments. We all know that climate change and sea level rise are scientific facts. It is something affecting coastal communities, not just here in the U.S., it's a global phenomenon. And interesting, I'm a UPenn alum. They're having a forum coming up soon where they're talking about islands that are dealing with sea level rise. I mean, you're just sitting in the middle of the water there dealing with some of this. So this is a really, really big deal, and doing nothing is not an option. We have to take action. And the good news is we are. I'm an optimist about the future of Miami Beach. I'll give you a few reasons for that. Number one, the first step of fixing a problem is knowing you have a problem. And we've done that. We've been on the field for about a decade now, taking action. And those who came before me that had the will to make this happen, I think deserve a whole lot of credit. Number two, we do have political will. While we occasionally have vibrant debates, that's what we're up there to do, by the way, we all believe that there's a problem and that we particularly need to address the issues of flooding, whether it comes from rain, storm surge, sea level rise, as well as some of our infrastructure issues as it relates to water and sewer infrastructure. And there's no debate within the commission whether we should do something or not. We all are on board with that. The third thing I would say, we live in a community of means. As a general rule, we're sitting on $40 billion worth of real estate value. This is a place that people want to live, invest, and work. And those investments generate property taxes, which is our #1 source of revenue. That's a really different situation than you're in a place where you're struggling to make your budget every year. It's a little harder to think about the long term. So all that comes together for me, coupling that with my own heartfelt belief in the power of humankind and innovation and technologies that we can't even think about which are coming. I just read yesterday of a couple women founders with a new $100 million decarbonization fund with plenty of applicants from around. Who knows where that goes? But with all of the entrepreneurial energy, all the focus, I am bullish on Miami Beach, and we are built for the long term. Now, what do we have to do right in terms of moving forward? I think a few things come to mind. First is we have to learn as we go. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Over the last 100 years or so, sea level rise has been a couple inches a decade. It might have accelerated now to closer to 2.5 inches a decade. But this is playing out over many years. Good that we're on the case, but it's not something that happened yesterday. It's not something we're fixing tomorrow. We're going to be living this for the long term. So in this program, it's very important that we learn as we go. Second sort of key success factor that I really want to highlight is that we work collaboratively as a community. It's not just government. It's not just the business sector. It's not just residents. We can't do it all. Residents can't do it all. Together, we absolutely can do it all. And we need to be in this together. And so one of the themes that I've been pushing, highlighting, and will continue to advocate for is that we really do this close collaboration, really almost a partnership with the community. 70% of Miami Beach land is in private hands. Dry streets is very good. I want dry streets. But what I really want is a resilient community. The third sort of key success factor, and there are a number of these, but this is one that I'm going to launch off of, is that we take a holistic view of the problem. Again, streets are very important, but there are a number of other elements that we need to address. And I've been advocating sort of for a broad view of what the issues are and how we address them. So let me go to the third chapter of teeing up what I think are some very hot topics and some things that you all should keep your eyes on. The first, and I think you'll hear more about it today, is a very innovative matching grant program. So you property owners should take a note or two here. Our private property adaptation program. What is that? Basically says if you have an idea to address flooding on your property, after an engineering assessment, the city's got its checkbook out to partner with you and help you make your property more resilient. That's good for you, and that's good for the city. And that is an incredibly innovative program. We funded it this past year. Amy knows, who you're going to hear from, has been really spearheading that program, and we are making great progress. So I think that's something that you really will want to take note of. I think our efforts in blue-green infrastructure are amazing. Here I'm talking about more nature-based solutions, whether it's bioswales, whether it's using our green space, whether it's living shorelines, I think are incredibly important. We got some very important work done by Jacobs Engineering on that. Now that is not to dismiss the importance of pumps and infrastructure and grade and those have their role too. But I think using nature as part of the solution is incredibly elegant. We're set up to do that. We should be able to do that. I think our efforts to include the community in our large neighborhood improvement projects are very important. When I talk about these neighborhood projects, just so you know what I'm speaking of, these are projects that took place like in Palm and Hibiscus, Sunset Harbor, one that is getting close here on West Avenue, one that will happen at South of Fifth. These projects are very, very substantial. They are critical to our long-term future. They're big. They're not easy. They involve a multidisciplinary approach, fixing our stormwater infrastructure, replacing our water and sewer infrastructure, and also improving the above-ground elements, things you see every day, like what's your street going to look like, and what is the layout of the streets going to look like. These really are transformative projects. And so it's also very important that we do them right. And for me, and my background's in the private sector, that's where I grew up, if you will, always starts with listening. Leadership to me is about listening. Doesn't mean everyone gets what they want, but the ideas are at the table. And increasingly I see the city moving in a direction that I'm happy about, where we're engaging the community. Because residents are experts on their neighborhood. Residents are going to live with what we do. And so our efforts to set up a ad hoc resiliency committee with residents, which I fought hard for and we have, to me is going to pay off. Our efforts to have our design review board play a critical advisory role looking at these projects is paying off. Our efforts to have the community engaged throughout this process, to me, is a very big deal. So I could go on for a while, but I'll sort of leave it at that. You'll hear, hopefully someone will touch on some of the things in our $20 million to seawalls. Maybe you'll hear about buoyant cities and the design work we've done and how you keep buildings safe, address flooding with the reality that things are elevated. There's a lot that I could say about those, but I'm going to leave that for some very distinguished professionals and experts. But the punchline that I would leave you with is sea level rise is a scientific fact. Together, we are making important progress and improving, and Miami Beach is indeed built to last. Thank you very much.